Yeah. Why do we have to wear a mask for the 10-yard walk from the restaurant door to the table and the table to the bathroom, only to sit there maskless for 2 hours in between? It makes no frigging sense whatsoever. But instead of acknowledging that fact, their response is to call for even more authoritarianism, to the point where they're now seriously proposing that people be forced to stay silent and not talk while they're eating. Yeah, really. Denise DeWald, medical doctor. You can't eat with a mask on while at work, but if you take your mask off to eat, don't talk. You can eat without talking. Talking creates way more aerosols than quiet breathing. Schools should have silent lunches or send the kids outside to eat. You can eat without talking. Shut up, peasant. Trisha Greenhalgh, Professor of Primary Care, Oxford. I think the key behavioural change we need is silence while unmasked for eating, drinking, since it's vocalizing that releases virus. What was that, pleb? Did you just vocalize silence? Can you imagine them trying to enforce this rule in pubs? These people are off the friggin' reservation and they're being handed power over our lives. This is the kind of control freak mindset that inhabits their brain, to the extent that they literally want a law that forbids people from talking to each other in bars and restaurants. Silence! Bear in mind that in the name of stopping the spread of the virus, health authorities in Australia and New Zealand already told the public not to talk to each other.
Don't talk to your neighbours.
Don't start up a conversation.
How long before state-mandated silence actually becomes the law? But to be honest,
it's getting crazy out there, you guys. Well, it's been crazy. Let's just be real. Welcome back. Thanks to everybody for being here. Please make sure you give it a thumbs up on your way in. If you haven't already, God bless you all for being here. I know I was missing in action yesterday. I'll explain what was going on. It's nothing serious, just life kind of comes at you. But yeah, appreciate everybody for being here. I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. I know it's kind of hard. It's like, you take 3-4 days off and you got to knock the rust off and figure out what's going on and jump back in. But I truly was able to unplug over the last 4 or 5 days since I was last live. But nonetheless, thank you guys all for being here. Basically, we were traveling over the weekend. We took the little one up to Minnesota to meet his great grandfather, which is, I think is pretty important, especially, this isn't just any great grandpa. I mean, he's a World War II veteran that escaped a Nazi prison camp. So that's kind of a cool thing, but nonetheless, spend some time up there with friends and family. And, that's the first time we've been up there since the pandemic started. And so, the majority of the people that I know, friends and family alike, are all essentially liberals, and that's fine and dandy. I've made that known for many years, and so that being the first time being back up there, of course, the big elephant in the room, are you vaccinated? That has come up. And to say the least, it was interesting. It reminds me how important it is. You cannot overstate the importance of having spirited debate, having discussions to try to understand the other side. Specifically, I had a conversation with a family member just around the whole vaccine thing and how unvaccinated people have this tendency to spread it and we're dangerous and blah, blah, blah. Right. So, of course, I argued my point, my position, which is that this is a personal choice of liberty and freedom and natural immunity, which I stand wholeheartedly on. And I'm going to be fine. And this family member made a point or brought up a point that, the unvaccinated are the ones that are irresponsible and selfish, because if they get COVID and have to be hospitalized, that takes up a bed from somebody who is responsible and a good person, essentially, for getting vaccinated. And now they can't go to the hospital. And I'm like, can the same not be said for somebody who knows the risks of overeating and eating junk food, and then they get heart disease and they have to be hospitalized? Is that not selfish? Are they not bogging down the medical system? I'm just saying, people who are pro-vax, but not necessarily zealots, they're not going to chase you around in a grocery store, but their position is very much pro-vax. They're making these arguments that seem like they're just cherry picking, right? And it's just public health emergency. That's all we can focus on. And my stance is very much 78% of the people hospitalized and or dying are overweight. So if we don't focus on, that aspect of it, are we not setting our population up for the next time one of these viruses just appears to lose a big chunk of our population? No pun intended, but I'm saying a large chunk of people, if they don't get their health in check, they're going to be susceptible to the next virus. And it seems that the people who are all about health and we got to protect people who are vulnerable completely want to run away from the argument, the very legitimate argument that we should be taking care of and at least providing the necessary information to the people who are overweight, people that are more likely to be hospitalized due to the virus. So I just wanted to just say that I had some very good and interesting, if not productive, conversations with family over the weekend. So that's kind of where I was. And then as far as not streaming yesterday, you know, when you get back really late on a Sunday night, I don't know why I didn't think of this. There was no way I was going to be able to go live yesterday after traveling with an infant, his first time traveling, which he did do well. He did well, considering, you know, you're sitting in an airplane, an airport for several hours. He did really well, but we needed to get some rest. So nonetheless, I'm back today. Appreciate you guys for being here again. Let's start off with a little bit of good but humorous news here. A Let's Go Brandon store has opened in Massachusetts. And guys, it's selling right-wing merchandise. I love it. Don't you love how they have to say it's a right-wing thing? It's funny how the media will acknowledge and say, look, Biden's poll numbers are extraordinarily low. They're really, really low. Also, Let's Go Brandon it's a right-wing, far-right, pro-Trump thing. But they forget that it is a byproduct, Let's Go Brandon is, of F. Joe Biden, which became popular at these college football stadiums, you know, these liberal college football stadiums. So they say this is a right-wing thing. It's a pro-Trump right-wing thing. But I didn't see any headline saying tens of thousands of pro-Trump MAGA enthusiasts invade college football stadiums nationwide to chant F. Joe Biden. So just throwing that out there. You can categorize this in the same box as the removing the dislike button to try to mask what we all know is true. So this Let's Go Brandon store opening up in not so conservative Massachusetts is very interesting. And they're selling this right-wing merchandise. You know, they'll talk about Let's Go Brandon, but they will not say where the origins of the F. Joe Biden chant that went very popular came from and how it became Let's Go Brandon. But this is great. If you live in I think this might be in the Boston area. I honestly didn't read this article. I just thought the headline was very interesting. The right-wing store, Let's Go Brandon. But if you're in that area, go check it out. Maybe snap some photos and share it with me. I'll post it. Moving on. Before we get into the COVID insanity, because that's pretty much what this entire stream is going to be about, I want to play this little clip from the Florida Department of Health from last week. Now, this right here is how it should be done. This is a sane, rational, reasonable, non-authoritarian way to approach public health. And Florida seems to once again be leading the way.
Protecting your health is a lifelong journey. We've always protected Floridians through innovative solutions. COVID-19 is no exception.
Early treatment saves lives.
It definitely saved mine.
Talk to your doctor about what can work best for you. As always, it is important to maintain a healthy immune system.
Oh, I'm going to stop it and pause it right there. You saw the needle go into the arm, because I know the naysayers would be like, they didn't mention the vaccine. They showed a needle going into somebody's arm. And right here, you have it listed in the top left corner. Here's what you need to focus on. Vaccination, exercise and activity, nutrition, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Oh boy, is that medical misinformation? Is that right wing? Is that DeSantis's right wing extremist anti-science pick? Or is it just common sense, what we've always known to be true? But I'll continue.
And stay active. Let's live.
All states should be doing this. All states. So that's what the Florida Department of Health, the type of messaging that they're putting out there for people to, take care of yourself. Personal responsibility. Take care of yourself. It's really that simple. But, now we can just get into what's actually going on. Instead of that, you've got over here in Germany. Germany is just determined to repeat history, like to a T. They're following the blueprint of what happened before. Here you have a restaurant of people, and they're walking around and checking papers. Show me your papers. They're doing that right now in Germany. But hey, guys, it's just Germany. It's just over there. It cannot happen in the United States. It will only happen in Germany. It will only happen in Austria. It would only happen in Italy. It won't happen in the United States. We don't have to worry about it. Just get vaccinated, and we don't have to worry about, repeating history and going into this apartheid style society. We don't have to worry about it. It's just Germany, right? So yeah, asking for papers while people are sitting down trying to eat. And then over here in Austria, they're forcing people into quarantine camps. I'm sorry, Australia. We got Austria and Australia, I think, are competing against each other. The names are spelled similar. They sound similar. So, forgive me for getting them mixed up here. But in Australia, they're forcing people into quarantine camps despite negative COVID tests, because science, don't question it. Just follow the rules, follow the guidelines. You even got a video here. Oh, I guess it won't play.
Give you a warning, yeah? It's an official warning that you have to stay in the balcony and obey the rules all you get, yeah? And that's, we have to go the rules again. I don't care.
So am I allowed to go to the laundry?
You're allowed to go to the laundry, but you got to wear a mask, yeah?
Yeah, righto.
Yeah. And you definitely can't go up to fence anywhere else. But you're allowed to go to the laundry, yeah? That's always been the case, yeah?
Right, so if I was sitting just here, which is right near the fence, why are these guys in a cabin that's right near the fence? It makes no sense, does it?
Yeah, but you can't leave your balcony to go to the fence to talk to somebody else. That's not yeah?
So if I was
Yeah,
at
that
that
doesn't have to
balcony,
make sense. So there has to be lines everywhere drawn, yeah? And one of the lines is you cannot leave your balcony and you cannot go to someone else. Where it makes no sense, where it doesn't seem right to you, that is the line, and that's what the law is, yeah? And that's how it goes, yeah?
the law.
Or the show direction.
There's a law that
Show
says that.
direction, yep, there's a show direction, yeah? It's how the behavior must be done, especially in this area, because
Yeah, so you get the point. And the response is always, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. Don't worry about it, guys. I'm just doing my job here. And my job is to crack down on your existence. You're not allowed to do certain things. You can go and do things, but only if you are in compliance with our arbitrary rules. Wear your mask outside, wear your mask when you walk into the restaurant, sit down, you can take it off. Your kids have to wear it all day regardless, because health, don't question it. It's just health. Don't worry about the scientific studies that do not exist. It's just about your health. Follow rules until we tell you it's safe. By the way, it'll never be safe because this thing is here to stay. And that's another interesting thing that came up in the conversation that I had with the family member in Minnesota. Is like, hey, aren't we gonna continue this forever? I mean, if the virus is not going anywhere and there's new strains coming out all the time and they're mandating vaccines, does that not mean there's just going to be mandatory booster shots forever? Because you're not going to get 100% of humans vaccinated. It's just not going to happen. And even if you do, the virus isn't going anywhere. It's going to mutate. That's the job of it. That's the job. Is it for it to find a way to survive, to thrive? And that's what it's going to do regardless. That's the whole point of mutations. So it's not a thing where, well, if we just get Pfizer in everyone's arm, we can live in happy harmony and everything's going to go back to normal. It's just literally not going to happen. And you don't have to be some scientist to know that. It's freaking common sense. And also it's common sense to see that there's a lot of authoritarians on the march right now, seizing power over this new Omicron variant. It's just crazy. It's psychotic, right? So you got Austria planning to lift lockdown, but not for the unvaccinated. Again, I just said it's vaccinated people that are catching this thing. But it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. We have to punish people. That's what it is. It's punishment. Just like the mask is punishment. The mask is punishment. Unvaccinated people all over this country have to take tests to prove that they don't have COVID. And even after they've proven that they don't have it, they still have to wear a mask. There's no science behind that. It's just punishment. Arbitrary enforcement, punishment because they didn't get Pfizer injected into their arm. Meanwhile, a vaccinated person could be carrying COVID, walk right past, go into that place of business and spread the variant, spread the virus. That's not medical misinformation. That is fact. The very first person to contract the new variant in the United States was fully vaccinated. And that's the case in the other states where the variant has emerged. Fully vaccinated man in Minnesota caught the Omicron variant. And despite the fact that this is a brand new variant, we don't know much about it. To my knowledge, as of this live stream, I don't know that there's been any reported deaths or hospitalizations. And yet you've got the dictator de Blasio in New York City on his way out, by the way. He's done next month. So he's just flexing as much power as he can. He's a psycho. He's addicted to power. He decided to enforce a vaccine mandate for all of the private sector in New York City and children ages 5 to 11. So now your kid in New York City, age 5 to 11, has to get this jab in order to participate in public life. So people think it's just Austria, it's just Germany, it's just Italy, it's just these European countries who they coincidentally want us to be more like, be more sophisticated, consume less, embrace this, this new life that we're creating. But anyway, they want us to be more like them, but then they're also like, we can't be, that's not going to happen over there. That's only over there in Europe. They will never get crazy in the United States. Well, you got it already here in New York City and in Nevada, which we'll talk about here in a second. This whole notion that we're going to crack down on you. And this is why I've been posing the question for weeks now. Exactly how far is the government willing to go to vaccinate people? I just want to know, what's the end game? You can tell people, all right, you can't work if you don't get this jab, blah, blah, blah. Okay, people will find a way around that. You can't shop. People will have their groceries delivered. How much further are they willing to go? You can't renew your driver's license. You can't enroll your kids in school. Okay, I won't drive. Homeschool my kids. Now what? How much further are they willing to go? Are they going to tax you? We got that CNBC reporter that came out, or that guy, I forget his name already, that was like, yeah, mandate the vaccine, have the military run it. What does that mean? Are they going to show up at people's doors and people barricade themselves inside? I want to know how far they're willing to go. How determined are they? How zealous are they going to be to get people vaccinated? I want to cut to the chase right now so I know what I'm dealing with. I just feel like that is fair to wonder how we're going to deal with it. But just listen to the rhetoric of Lurch over here in New York City talk about this new vaccine mandate based on this omnipresent Omicron variant, which, again, we do not know how serious this thing is. If anything, we've gotten the data so far is that it's not that bad.
We've got Omicron as a new factor. We've got the colder weather, which is going to really create additional challenges.
That's going to happen every winter. Just saying.
With the Delta variant, we've got holiday gatherings. We in New York City have decided to use a preemptive strike to really do something bold to stop the further growth of COVID and the dangers it's causing to all of us. So
a preemptive strike, does that not sound like some kind of military talk track? I mean, a preemptive strike. When they say that they launched a war against COVID, you might as well call that the war on terror. The war on drugs, the war on poverty. It's a war on you. Did the war on drugs not create more drugs, more drug addicts? Did the war on terror not create power vacuums that terrorists ultimately filled? Right? And now the war on COVID is a war on you. They're telling you, an unvaccinated person, you're a petri dish. You're the reason COVID is spreading. That's why we have to lock you down, even though vaccinated people are getting it. Vaccinated people are somehow getting it from unvaccinated people. So they're telling you that viruses are so strategic that they know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't. So they go to the unvaccinated people, and that's how they mutate. And then they've mutated, and then they jump to a vaccinated person who traveled abroad, right? You have to be vaccinated to do all that travel anyway, right? None of it makes sense. It's all just authoritarian power grabs. They're just winging it. They're making it up as they go along. And they're just flexing power, right? And launching a preemptive strike. What does that even mean? Why are you using that kind of talk track here, de Blasio? It makes no sense. But they continue down this path of authoritarianism, trying to make you comply. And they think that spreading fear over Omicron is going to work. Most people are tuning out. Most people don't care. Most people are ready to go back to normal. And that includes a lot of vaccinated people, people that I know that will not go and put on masks everywhere they go. They're done with this nonsense. They're just trying to live a normal life. But some people actually still believe we can't go back to normal until all these unvaccinated people bend the knee to big pharma and take this product. And then they actually think in their mind, this is going to end as soon as we get all those non-compliance out there, the undesirables. We got to get them in line. But until then, we'll just discriminate against them, marginalize them. You've seen the segregated grocery stores now where they put up these barricades for vaccinated and unvaccinated people. I guess that's more noble than just not letting them in at all, at least letting them shop for food, but you're still promoting the idea of segregation. What are going to be the long-term psychological effects of what they're doing to our society right now? I would like to think if we were to go back to normal tomorrow, like let's just pretend we could wipe away COVID, everything goes back to normal tomorrow. The long-lasting impact of this will last who knows how long. Could be a decade or longer. I mean, you've obviously got the financial, economic impact. What about from an educational standpoint, where kids spent like the majority of 2020 not learning anything, and now they're back in school, not seeing faces? How many people are going to be psychologically damaged thinking that I'm sick, even though I had to take a test to see that I have it or not, and I don't, but I'm being told that I'm basically the virus. You have people that have been brainwashed to believe that they're spreading something when they're not sick. Some people may not have been sick for years. Some people take care of their health. But they decided, I want to wait for more long-term studies before I get this thing. I never get the flu shot, so I'm okay. If you're one of those people and you never get sick, guess what? Because you haven't gotten Pfizer's product, it means you're sick. You have COVID all the time and you're spreading it. They conflate those things. Unvaccinated to them means you're sick, you're spreading COVID, you're a dangerous person. It doesn't matter how you live your life. It doesn't matter if you never leave your house. COVID's going to drop down from the sky, get you, and then you're going to end up killing all these people. It's a scapegoat. It's dangerous. And these people just continue to go down this path. And it's people like Lurch right here that want to just flex their power just because they can. On his way out, he's just like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to launch this preemptive strike against the unvaccinated. That's what that is. As if he hasn't done enough damage to New York City. As if New York City isn't already circling the drain, he wants to drag it down with him on his way out. Very sad. And then you've got liars on television, some really just unintelligent, low-informed people on The View lying, straight up lying about where this new variant is coming from and who is spreading it. They're blaming the unvaccinated.
Yeah. Well, they don't agree with that. They feel that their greater good is more important than your greater good.
Well, it was interesting to me that the argument was being made, if you're vaccinated, why do you care about me being vaccinated? You're protected. And that's why we are at the Omicron variant, right? That's why we are.
The audience claps as she casually just gets the variant wrong. That's what I mean. Just mindless sheep following. Like, oh, girl, go ahead. As you say, Omicron variant. This is insanity. But we'll continue.
Where we are, because it's mutating. It's becoming this crazy superbug inside of the people that aren't vaccinated. And now it's affecting us. I don't know why they were not understanding that. We've got like 80 million people that are not vaccinated.
They understand.
I'm sorry. Just as a side note, I gotta go full screen. What's going on here, Whoopi? What's going on here? You're indoors. This is too distracting.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
Period.
We all
understand.
But we all understand that when it comes to, for example, secondhand smoking, right?
Yeah.
I don't smoke, and I don't want you to smoke next to me because I don't want to swallow your smoke. But
yeah.
So a lot to unpack there. First of all, smoking is not the same because someone smoking, you know that they're smoking, right? But they're telling you, if you wanted to use that analogy, they're telling you, even though you don't smoke cigarettes, I don't want your secondhand smoke. They never want to compare apples to apples. But if you're comparing apples to apples, just because you're smoking a cigarette, I don't want to breathe in that secondhand smoke. So if you're unvaccinated, they're basically saying you may or may not be smoking a cigarette right now next to me, but I'm just going to assume that you are smoking a cigarette. I don't want to inhale your secondhand smoke. I don't want that secondhand smoke in my lungs. That's what she's saying. And it only works on low information people that aren't thinking outside the box, people that aren't thinking critically, never mind outside the box, people that aren't thinking critically. Like, wait a minute, that's not the same thing. Being unvaccinated is the same thing as walking around and smoking indoors. Make that make sense. Nobody really asks those questions. Nobody really thinks like that. At least not in this audience. They just clap like seals. Ooh. But then she's saying, yeah, it's the unvaccinated. See, this constant rhetoric is just to drive more hatred, make them hate people, and marginalize them, justify all of the tyranny, right? Because if they keep on talking like this, then what it's going to do is, for the people that think that they're like sanctimonious, they're telling you, like, you know, you're a moral, responsible, good person. If you got vaccinated, you're a good person. And people who haven't been vaccinated are selfish, they're mean, they just want to kill people, they only care about their freedom. They keep saying that, right? Because they want vaccinated people to be okay with, you know, draconian measures against unvaccinated people, to the where they will support things like, maybe, I don't know, arresting unvaccinated people. Unvaccinated people can't vote. Unvaccinated people can't shop. They can't go anywhere. Somewhere in this country, there are lots of vaccinated people that support that. They think like, man, you should shut down their social media. They shouldn't be allowed to talk. Their kids should be discriminated against. We should quarantine them. Again, they think it's just in Austria. It's just overseas. It'll not happen in the United States. But all this rhetoric is just building towards that. The only reason it hasn't happened yet, in my opinion, the only reason we haven't gone full-scale authoritarianism like they're doing in Australia is because of the Second Amendment. That is the only reason, in my opinion. The Second Amendment alone, I think, is keeping them from going all the way through with what they want to do here. There's no doubt in my mind that's what they want to do here, because why else would they continue with this rhetoric on TV and government? It's at the mayoral level. It's the government, you know, the state. I mean, like the governors, for example, Kathy Hochul in New York, cracking down all over this new variant. And there's going to be, guess what? There's going to be another variant and another variant, and it's not going to end. They're just going to continue to blame people who haven't gotten the Pfizer shot. It's just, it's insane. So here we have in Nevada, unvaccinated Nevada state workers to pay insurance surcharge. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of vaccinated people who think, yeah, you should make them pay a surcharge. Even if they're healthy, you could have a clean bill of health, not see your doctor, but, you know, for your checkup and every once in a while. But guess what? You got to pay a surcharge because you haven't taken this shot in your arm. Make that make sense. So if you're unvaccinated, again, it means you're always spreading COVID. You're dangerous. You're selfish. You are killing people. And apparently they think that you are a tax and a charge on the system. Even if you don't ever go to the doctor, if you're never hospitalized, you're only allowed to be hospitalized with COVID if you've been vaccinated. You're only allowed to recover from COVID if you've been vaccinated. That's why they would have been happy if Joe Rogan died. They would have been happy if Tim Pool died, so they could say, aha, I told you so. You'd still be alive if you were vaccinated. Even when somebody who's fully vaccinated dies. Remember that headline from a couple months ago? They're like, fully vaccinated man dies from COVID. But hospital says it could have been worse had he been unvaccinated, because dying from COVID is worse if you're unvaccinated than if you are. I'm sorry. I fail to see that logic there. But you have at least in Nevada trying to enforce these draconian restrictions. And this is just the start. They're doing everything that they can, short of showing up at your door, hauling you off in paddy wagons to health camps, quarantine camps. They're doing everything that they can to crack down on unvaccinated people. And let me tell you something right now. I want to go on the record and say this. If I were fully vaccinated, I would not be for vaccine mandates. I would not be for discrimination. And I damn sure wouldn't be for vaccine passports. I would not want to show my papers everywhere I went just to prove, hey, look, I'm good. I'm one of the good guys. I don't want to do that. So even if I were fully vaccinated, I would still have this mindset. I would still stand with the people who are being marginalized, discriminated against, told that they're an undesirable, and look the other way when they are forced into these conditions that are just incompatible with freedom. So yeah, that's my stance on it. But hey, look, Nevada, New York, and all these liberal places, they want to, show, well, look at us. We care so much about health. Look how much we care about health. We're going to force kids to get it. And we're going to make all these people get this shot. We're going to make their life suck on top of the fact that we've been making their life suck with our high taxes, our soft on crime approach, everything else we do in the name of health and keeping you safe. In order to save your life, we have to make your life suck. And then you got people who just complied, right? Good for them, nothing against them. But they think that they're getting something out of this when they're stuck with this too. This isn't going back to normal, even if you got all the vaccinated or unvaccinated people to comply. We're not going back to normal. They have no plans of doing this. You have to be fully ignorant of history if you really think that the government is just going to relinquish all this power. I'm still waiting for the Patriot Act to go away. Still waiting for that one. Just saying, man, people just don't get it. And so you got 80 Republicans. 80 Republicans vote with Democrats to pass dangerous federal vaccination database bill. 80 House Republicans voted with Democrats on Tuesday to pass the Immunization Infrastructure Modernization Act, which, if passed by the Senate and signed into law, would fund a federal vaccination database. Doesn't that sound like fun? So they're going to track, trace, and database you. But hey, it's in the name of health. They care about us. Listen to Fauci, listen to the experts. They would never lie. There's no way that they have malicious intent. Their motives are completely pure. Completely pure. Trust these strangers just because they call themselves government. Trust them. Also, we'll never end up like Australia, you guys. It's just not happening. It's not possible. So I don't want to continue beating a dead horse here. I know that would upset PETA. You're not supposed to beat a dead horse. You can't say that anyway. So we'll just kind of move on to, one other thing here. Apparently, guys, we're up to 300 worldwide now. 300 athletes that have, collapsed with cardiac arrests. Report shows nearly 300 athletes worldwide collapsed or suffered cardiac arrests after a certain thing that they took. My last channel strike that I got back in, I want to say September, it just fell off my channel on December 3rd. And so I still want to tread lightly. I don't have any strikes. I don't want to get there. So I'll just tread lightly around it. But I say all that to say that 300 athletes worldwide, people that are at the peak of human health, people that run for a living, talking about soccer players, they're collapsing with cardiac arrests. And, it's just a big mystery. Nobody seems to know why, but it's all happening in 2021. I don't know, guys. Maybe one day we will crack this mystery. We will solve this riddle of why the healthiest people amongst us are getting cardiac arrests, heart attacks, dying afterwards. The world's greatest athletes, they're suffering and dying after heart attacks. And there's certain, I guess, procedures or certain things that they were told to do or get that may have contributed to it, but I don't know. That could just be some right-wing conspiracy theory. But you guys, you can pick up what I'm putting down there. Very interesting. It's a mystery. Maybe they'll solve it one day. Moving on to other news. On today's episode of Trump Was Right, the NYC's Museum of Natural History is hiding a racist Theodore Roosevelt statue under a tarp. And they're scaffolding it ahead of long-term loan to Roosevelt's North Dakota Presidential Library. So Theodore Roosevelt is now gone. Got to hide him for being a racist. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, if they haven't gotten him yet, it's a matter of time before they do. And of course, they'll replace him with a statue of St. George, maybe Fauci. maybe Jacob Blake, since some people think he's dead, might as well commemorate him with a statue. I'm sure that that's what will happen next. Can't make it up, guys. It's happening right now. People want to pretend like it's not a thing. It's just me cherry picking. It's just anecdotal. You're making too much of it. They're just trying to create an equitable society. So let's just go ahead and sanitize history to our liking. More soft bigotry of the low expectation variety. Justice Department sues Texas over new redistricting maps. They claim that the redistricting is, Texas trying to block out Black and Latino voters, basically redistricting to absorb Black and brown neighborhoods into otherwise Republican districts so that their vote essentially doesn't count, which translates to we own those Black and brown votes. They vote Democrat 100%. You're not allowed to do this. Even though they would do the same thing, they would try to do the same thing with rural areas, try to absorb them into liberal counties. Both sides are doing this, but it's right wingers, it's Texas, it's Republicans trying to marginalize Black and brown people, just like they think Black and brown people don't know how to get an ID to vote. They can't get online. They don't know how to use the internet. They have to drive up to McDonald's parking lots to get online. I thought they didn't know how to get online, Joe Biden. Now you're telling me that they have to go to a McDonald's parking lot to get on Wi-Fi so their kids could do homework. By the way, I've never seen that. I'm not saying it's not happening, but he's mentioned it on several occasions as if it's just widespread. You go to your local fast food joint and you're going to see a Black and brown family sitting in a parking lot, not going inside, but sitting in a parking lot, connecting to the Wi-Fi so their kids could do homework. I'm surprised he thinks Black and brown people know how to drive. How far will they could take this bigotry? Super bigoted. But yeah, so they're suing Texas, singling out these red states because, taking legal action against them because they're scattering voters across district by Black and brown because there's no evidence that Black and brown people are starting to vote more conservative. Black and brown people tend to, not making a blanket statement, but tend to be more conservative as it relates to their values, but still vote Democrat. That's something that we're trying to work on. But they're making it sound like it's just those Republicans trying to marginalize the Blacks and browns. We got to swoop in to protect them / we really need their votes. Mike, please keep an eye out for the book I'm sending you. It should arrive today or tomorrow. Thank you, Charles. I'll be on the lookout. I will check the P.O. box later this week. Maybe I'll give it till Friday. That's usually when I go to the P.O. box. So I'll check it. Appreciate you guys. And that's actually all the topics that I have for today. Let's go ahead and really quickly get an update. I'm just going to hit refresh on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial that nobody seems to be talking about. I guess that's by design too, huh? Doesn't that kind of speak for itself? The fact that you're not getting a lot of coverage from the media on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I think that they dropped some names. I think George Clooney is implicated here and plenty of other people. I mean, we've obviously seen photos of Chris Tucker, Kevin Spacey, former president, Slick Willie. We know about Prince Andrew's involvement. The dressing room where the FBI found the safe containing thousands of images of girls located in the NYC townhouse. So you guys should be following, if you haven't heard of it already, the Maxwell Trial Tracker on Twitter. This Twitter account has amassed like 500,000 followers in like under a month. We don't know who this person is, but they're watching this trial closely and posting updates. Court just broke for lunch. Cross-examination will resume afterwards. This is something we have to keep at the forefront. This is the biggest, in my opinion, and the opinion of millions of people, this should be the biggest story in the country. Bigger than COVID. Yes, bigger than COVID. This gigantic child sex trafficking operation that has been, worldwide, run by the highest levels of government, Hollywood, business executives, you name it, the elites, trafficking children. And now somebody's in court for it, and names are coming out, witnesses are coming forward, giving their testimony, and people are more concerned about their relatives who are healthy not getting the Pfizer shot. That's the big scoop. But we should be talking more about this. So yeah, there's I guess there's a witness, or I'm sorry, maybe a victim named Carolyn, reported that she stopped going to Epstein's house when she was 18 because she realized she was too old for him. Since Epstein, Carolyn has been arrested for drug use and possession of stolen property. She did time in jail and therapy for drug use. She has worked in an escort service and became a stripper. It's sad how these young children have been damaged for life over this disgusting pedophile sex trafficking ring run by Epstein, who didn't kill himself. Girls told that they would be famous actresses and they're going to find all this success if they just go and wear some skimpy clothes around this pedophile and hang out with Bill Clinton, a former president of the United States. I don't know why that's not like a huge story, that he flew on this pedophile jet 26 times. Nobody seems to care about it. Kind of funny how Bill Clinton was also doing some like tour with Kamala Harris promoting like women's empowerment. You can't make this crap up, you guys. You just cannot. The truth remains stranger than fiction in the year 2021. So that's everything that I think that I could talk about today. And we're only at 41 minutes in. This is pretty efficient for me, but I knocked all the rust off, and we're back to business, picking up where we left off last week. Let me get the chats over here. Appreciate everybody for being here. If you have not yet, please give this stream a thumbs up. That's the only way to overcome and circumvent YouTube's algorithmic demotion of my content is it's got to be you guys. I appreciate you all. Just give it a thumbs up. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up right now. Share it if you haven't already. Get the word out so that more people can hear about my channel, because there's just, I have 65,000 subscribers. So you would think that I would have at least at minimum 6,500 people interacting with every video, but YouTube is really working hard. They work overtime to make sure nobody sees my content like ever at all. Disabling the dislike button and stuff, like people aren't going to know what that is. Like, I guess this Santa Inc. must be really popular. They disabled the comments because they were overwhelmed by so many people saying how much they love it and they can't wait to watch it. Just, gosh, you guys, more clown world insanity. Thank you so much for the super chat. S9A6M19 said, going to visit the great state of Florida soon. Any suggestions for where? Literally anywhere. There's something for everybody in Florida. It just depends on what you're looking for, man. If you're like Disney, if you like beaches, you got that. If you like nature preserves, you got that. If you want to party on South Beach, you got that. Sports teams, everything. I personally have a bias for Central Florida. I think there's a lot more going on up here. I think it's fun. It's more diverse in terms of things you can do. Florida Keys, you can't go wrong there. ABL has something that will reestablish the dislike count. Yeah, I saw that DM. I saw that you sent that to me. I'll have to look into that to pull that up. But the thing is, do I really need the dislike? Do I really need to see, 89,000 disliked it versus 1,000 for a video that has 2 million views, but only 1,000 likes? Do I really need to re-enable the dislike button to see what I already know is true? When comments are disabled, when it's a Joe Biden video, when it's a propaganda video, that thing doesn't do anything except for confirm what I already know is true. So yes, they could bring it back or not. I personally don't need it. I'll look at it, but I don't necessarily need it to be like, hey, look, guys, because number one, I know I'm preaching to the choir. And number two, most people already know that. Like, they know. something cringe like the Santa ink. Who doesn't know that that thing is wildly unpopular? Before they disabled the comments on it, people already knew that. You can just tell. I mean, it's just so obvious. No, you don't. That's why they are allowing it. The White House, CNN, etc. don't want it and won't do it. Speaking of CNN, yeah, Fredo got fired officially. I kind of saw that coming when they said he's suspended indefinitely. And I'll just repeat what I said last week. It's so funny how they have a standard. They decided to can him after a credible threat of sexual assault or harassment was made against Chris Cuomo. Now it's like, okay, we got to fire him. But again, Jeffrey Toobin maintains a position with CNN after he jerked it on a Zoom call. That happened, you guys. But CNN let him keep his job. Make that make sense. And if they're going to fire people based on allegations, why is Don Lemon still employed with CNN? Other than the fact that he is black and gay. Maybe that's why they won't fire him, because if they do, it's homophobic and racist. Don Lemon can just retreat into his identity and use that as a shield if they come after him. That's probably exactly why they won't say anything about it. What else has happened since I was gone? Stacey Abrams is running for governor of Georgia. Oh my gosh. So you got Robert Francis O'Rourke running for governor of Texas. You got Stacey Abrams running for governor of Georgia. We're just missing one more piece to that trifecta, guys. We're just missing one more to that trio. Andrew Gillum. Why not all three of them? How come they don't all just run again? And we can just have a repeat of 2018. I think Andrew Gillum should run for governor of Florida again. I think he should announce his candidacy so Ron DeSantis can beat him thoroughly this time. Last time is a little close, but I would love to see Ron DeSantis just handedly defeat him. You know what? Hold on, guys. I think there's one other topic that I wanted to cover, and I may not have clicked on it yet. Oh, here we go. We have proof, you guys. We have proof that MSNBC, in fact, did stalk the bus that was carrying the jurors in the Rittenhouse trial, and we have the body cam footage to prove it.
So you got an iPad. Are you from Wisconsin, sir?
No.
Huh?
No.
Where are you from?
Atlanta.
Atlanta? Okay. All right.
I mean, Dunwoody's my official, but I flew up from Atlanta.
You flew up. What's significance of you being here?
I work for NBC.
For NBC?
Yeah.
Okay. You're a reporter?
Producer.
Producer? Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know. So were you following a vehicle?
I was trying to see. I was being called by New York, going, maybe these are people you need to follow, but I don't know. I was trying to.
You trying to what?
Just do what they told me to do.
New York told you to follow a vehicle?
Yes.
Your offices in New York or what?
That's right.
How did they know about this vehicle?
Busted, caught red-handed. The questions that this cop asked were perfect, spot on. They got caught red-handed.
I mean, it was discreet. I wasn't like, going to talk to anybody or anything. Just trying to find a location. That's all.
So he's been told to follow. He was told to follow somebody. He's told to follow this vehicle from his offices in New York.
What office?
It's the NBC office in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the person who called you and told you to do this?
Yeah.
You want to give me his information real quick?
You want me to call?
Sure.
So
smart move.
That's what it sounds like.
Hey, law enforcement wants to talk to you.
Hi, this is Officer Jones, Kenosha Police. We're trying.
Now this is the best part about it, because watch them do everything in their power to not say Yeah, we're trying to find where these jurors are. They cannot admit it. Watch it.
To figure out what's going on here, why you have a reporter or producer following vehicles out here. Hold on, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone because you're connected to this car. Now, can you go again?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Hi, officer. My name is Irene. I'm a booking producer with NBC News. We were just trying to respectfully just trying to see if it's possible to find any leads about the case, and so we were just keeping our distance just to see like where people involved in the trial are positioned. By no means were we trying to get in contact with any of the jury members or whoever's in the car. We just were trying to see like where
we were just like trying to see if we could threaten and intimidate the jury to get the verdict we wanted. Why can't she just say that? Because she's a disgusting liar. That's why. We'll continue.
Key players in the trial may be at.
So
if you want, I can just offer this. Once the verdict comes, like these are the letters that the clerk is going to be giving to them. So this is.
Hold on a second.
Just trying to.
We have hard ID on the individual. Apparently, he's a producer with NBC. Currently on the phone with his offices in New York, who advised him to follow a vehicle in reference to the case.
Now, see, this cop knows exactly what this is, but he's giving them the rope to hang themselves, asking all the right questions. You were told to follow this vehicle, and this guy. The only reason he got pulled over is because he was driving reckless and dangerous. How many times has this happened without people getting caught? These people working in the media. We all know what this is about. To find out who the jurors were, so that they could threaten them. Post their information online, and who's to say they wouldn't be working with Antifa or, bullies? This mob rule, that's what they're using to try to get the verdicts that they want. Who's to say they didn't do this in the Chauvin trial? Who's to say they're not going to do this in other trials? So it's just worked out perfectly, divine intervention, that these devils got caught trying to bully the jury. That's what this was about, even though NBC doesn't want to admit it.
For real 651 and 494. You said it was a red light violation. For okay. All right. So, real quick, how you advised him to follow? Like any vehicle? Did you know which vehicle he was following?
We just had our people positioned in different areas of the courthouse to see if anyone would be able to in different areas, and so we were just following different.
Well, we're going to ask you guys to not do that. All right, that's a concern here. This is huge. We can't afford anything crazy happening, putting people in dangerous positions. This individual violated some traffic laws here doing this. So we're going to ask you guys to refrain from doing that.
Got it. Understood. Thank you so much. We're very sorry.
I'm very sorry.
Go ahead, 494.
She had to wrap up with a lie. We're very sorry. No, you're sorry you got caught. You got caught trying to stalk and intimidate a jury. And this cop let you off easy. because in my opinion, there should have been charges filed in this. And you haven't heard much of a follow-up here with NBC. I think they tried to lie and say, no, we weren't doing that. We weren't doing that. Well, here's the body cam footage proving that you guys did it. You guys got caught, busted, caught in the act, red-handed, trying to stalk the jury to threaten them to get the verdict that you wanted in the Rittenhouse trial, which was all based on a lie, following the riots that were based on a lie about Jacob Blake. Do you see how these people serve the father of lies, and they'll do it to no end? These people are sick. I'm so happy this cop caught them red-handed in the act, and we got the body cam footage to prove it. I hope that we see justice in this one day, because these people cannot continue to do this damage to our country, dividing us along racial lines, dividing us by vaccination status, constant division, constant hatred, constant marginalization, and they get busted red-handed. You love to see it. And, you know, just to wrap, I want to say that all this darkness is coming to light, you guys. All this darkness, all these people that have been doing all this dirt, it's all surfacing. And the dominoes are just falling one by one. Cuomo, he's fallen. His brother, Alec Baldwin. It just seems like, I don't know if you want to call it karma, maybe, but the people that have been pushing the most hatred and division, and they've been so hostile towards people for who they voted for or what they're choosing to do with their body, the people that have been most hostile and hateful are all seeing downfalls in their career. They're getting sick. They're getting arrested. They're having all these things happen to them, which seems like divine intervention. I'll just leave it at that, you know. But yeah, guys, that's what's going on in our world right now. Let me bring up the chat one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Is there anything I left out today? Anything I did, I'll probably just have to get to tomorrow, but I could at least take notes so I can do some research and look it up. The squad needs to go in the view. The squad, yeah. Evil never lasts. Yeah, I mean, good prevails in the end. God prevails in the end. Jussie Smollett, oh yeah, he maintains his innocence. Yeah, the Jussie Smollett trial. The brothers have testified. He thinks that he's the victim here. The Jussie Smollett trial, that's another thing. We should have maybe a verdict this week. The reason why I don't think the Jussie Smollett trial is that huge is because he's not going to do any jail time. He's just not. He's got money, power. He's got influence. He's probably going to get like probation. So nothing's going to happen in it. You know, like what? Are we really going to see justice? He should do jail time, in my opinion, just because of how much damage was done to, I guess, I don't really know that damage was done to the country, because most people, even people who would have agreed with him otherwise, saw through it. It was the media that got duped. The media, I wouldn't even say the media got duped. They ran with it. They knew his story was bogus, but they ran with it anyway because it served a purpose to divide the country. So all he did was be a pawn for the media to use on this chessboard. He's just a pawn. That's why they platformed him on Good Morning America. He did that interview where he's like, I go hard at 45, you know, and to paint himself as a victim, because there's virtue in victimhood. So that's all that did was create a bunch of, what do you call it? I forget what it's called, but like a bunch of people who came after Jussie Smollett trying to do the same thing. You saw a big wave of hate crime hoaxes. Check out Mark Dice's video from a couple days ago, where he compiled a list of all of the hate crime hoaxes over the past couple of years. I don't even know. Past 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Hate crime hoaxes are nothing new. When the goal is to radically change the country, you have to demonize. You have to make people hate the country. And the only way to make people hate the country is you have to make the country itself seem hateful. And because supply and demand don't meet, they have to manufacture it. The problem is they're sloppy. They draw backwards swastikas. They don't realize that there's surveillance that will catch them in the act, painting the backwards swastika. They have to frame white people. They have to frame all these people that are bigots. I mean, think about Stop Asian Hate. Remember that? Stop Asian Hate. Asian people are being beat up and assaulted. The only reason they ran with Stop Asian Hate is because the assumption was that it's a bunch of right-wing white people who voted for Trump that are mad about the coronavirus, so they're beating up Asians. But then when you Google Asian hate crime suspects, and click images, you get nothing but black people. So they realize, ooh, we can't really run with this because it doesn't serve our agenda. We cannot blame white people for what's happening. That's a fact too. You can go look Asian hate crime suspects, go look it up and tell me what color the people are that are doing it. They have to use that as the assumption that, this is America. This is the state of America. When you got black people on subways spraying Asians with Lysol at the beginning of the pandemic, just horrible things that are happening. But the media foments all of this. The media does all that. So Jussie Smollett, he's just another pawn on the chessboard. He just happened to be one of the biggest ones, right? But what else? I mean, the Jussie Smollett trial, they're trying to get Kamala Harris out of there. Yeah, this is don't trust your lying eyes. Don't trust your lying eyes. Trust the media. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Even Mika Brzezinski told you that's our job. It's our job to tell you what you think. It's our job to interpret the events unfolding in front of you. You're not smart enough. You don't have the intellectual bandwidth to interpret current events yourself. We have to craft it, curate it, package it for you. We will tell you what you think, how to think, what's important, what's not important, who's to blame, who's innocent, who's the victim in this situation. They're saying that's the media's job. All these points I make can be cross-referenced. You can go fact check. Go find the clip of her saying that. It's our job to tell you what to think. New York Times, don't go down the rabbit hole. So all these lies are just getting exposed. That's really it. And when black people are committing the crimes, it doesn't fit the narrative. So they don't report on it. Kind of like how we're supposed to just forget about the Waukesha terrorist attack. You just got to forget about it, guys. That was 2 weeks ago. We don't talk about it anymore. It was just an SUV that indiscriminately plowed over a bunch of people and killed a kid, at least one kid, ran over the dancing grannies. But who cares? We don't need to talk about it anymore. That's old news. Right? Because it was a black dude. That's why. That is the single-handedly the only reason why nobody talks about the Waukesha terrorist attack anymore is because it was a black man that did it. You can't convince me otherwise. If it was a white guy, we'd be talking about it right now. Live reports from the scene, news cameras, everywhere. But I guess he released some statement to Fox News saying that he feels like he's demonized and people are dehumanizing him. Oh, you poor thing. We're supposed to care about your feelings. Almost cussed right there. Someone said, stop SUV tyranny. We need to ban all Ford Explorers, Lincoln Navigators. We need to ban all these vans and SUVs. Ban them because they're getting out of hand. They blame the SUV just like they blame the gun. When it fits their narrative, we must ban this instrument, this inanimate object is the reason why. But when it's a white male shooter, oh yeah, we going after him and the gun. But if it's a black male killing some black people, that's just Saturday in Chicago. That's all that is. Who's going to tell me I'm lying about that? When it's black on black crime, it's just a weekend in Chicago and that's it. But let it be a white person. And yeah, we're supposed to care about this guy's feelings. Oh, his poor feelings. He feels dehumanized. He's the victim here, guys. He's the victim. I feel like you guys are coming down kind of hard on me after I ran those dancing grannies over. It hurts my feelings that you guys are dehumanizing me. You being mean to me. After I ran over a bunch of people and killed kids, you guys are being mean and dehumanizing me. I'm really a good person. I was actually about to cure cancer. These people are sick. Very, very sick. Not well. Your honesty and truth about everything you tell us is so refreshing. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. It just comes natural. And sometimes I will tell you, I say what I think is true. I'm not always right about everything. I told you I got the Nancy Pelosi moving to Florida story wrong. I mean, that was not, that's kind of a no harm, no foul thing, right? It wasn't like I reported something that was just so detrimental, but it's like I actually felt a little embarrassed by it. And I was like, man, I got to say it. I got to issue a retraction. Unlike the media, whose job it is to deceive you. And if they get caught, they double down on their lie, or they just sweep it under the rug and move on. That's the difference between independent media and mainstream media, is they're bought and paid for. Their job is to deceive you, to manipulate you, to shape public perception at all cost. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who they demonize. They don't care what the division is that's caused. I'm talking about individual news anchors. The networks certainly don't care, but individuals, they sell their soul to do that. Like, hey, you're going to lie about this. We need you to tell this story in this way. We need you to frame it this way. Even though that person knows this is going to cause a lot of hatred and division. This is going to make people hate each other. They do it anyway because they make a lot of money. That's called selling your soul. That's what that is. Anyways, I'm running out of breath here, guys. And we're at the 1 hour mark. So this is probably a good time to go ahead and wrap this stream up. But again, appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Make sure that you like the stream. Give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. If you're new, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss an upload. I will be back with more extremist right-wing content, conspiracy theory content that's just so dangerous. I'll be back with more of that tomorrow, or roughly around this time. So make sure you're tuned in for that. God bless you. I will catch you guys in the next stream.